I've never felt that afraid my whole entire life. Afraid of what would happen to me, afraid of what would happen to Abel, afraid of the unknown. And I remember feeling upset
Who were you upset with?
with God.
All right, we are in episode 2 of our story, our journey, our life, our situations, our seasons, and we are in Abel's room today, which we're still working on I'm very OCD about how things look.
Right.
And yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the look in the back, but we're officially in Abel's room. We're just now going to figure out how to get everything situated.
Yes.
Let's just jump right in. And yeah, let's welcome to Abel's room.
I'm nervous.
Episode 2. You're nervous?
For this one, yeah.
This one's good. I'm excited about this one. The other one I loved, but I think this one is, I don't know.
Let's do it.
It's definitely going to bring back some memories. But yeah, welcome to Abel's room where you can breathe and let it go. Let's jump straight in. If you haven't heard the first one, I would really recommend you to listen to the first one before you listen to this one. Yeah. So you ready?
Yeah, let's jump it.
All right. So before we actually talk about the pregnancy and everything that that you went through, I went through as well, but you as a mother, there was a question that I wanted to ask you before that I actually didn't realize I didn't ask you until we stopped recording.
Mm-hmm.
But the question was, when we got married, how did you feel when we got married and you came home to me or with me, but I didn't have much to offer you?
That's a really good question.
Yeah,
You've never asked me
I
that.
really wanted to know because it's been weighing heavy on me ever since.
I didn't really process the idea of you not offering me anything, quote unquote. To me, it was just love and let's just dive in completely into love. And that was all that I cared about.
Yeah, yeah. I think as a man, or the primary insecurities are, dang, I don't have anything to offer my future wife or my,
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to know, but for me personally, I'm like, man, I don't have a home to my name. I don't have a car to my name. I don't even have really money to sustain both of us, but I'm just going to figure it out. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to ask that before we jumped into the pregnancy story, because that's something that's just been weighing on me that I wanted to ask in front of the viewers. And I don't know.
That's a good question.
It was a good question to start with.
Yeah.
So let's begin with the pregnancy.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Deep breaths.
This is really good coffee.
Same. Cheers.
I might finish it before we even start. You killed it like always. I was never into coffee, but I guess now I am.
Now you are.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you found out that you were pregnant?
Wow.
And how did that make you feel?
I can still remember that day. Obviously, I was having symptoms, and I remember telling you that I felt like I was pregnant. And so we drove into the dollar store, the Dollar General, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We got a pregnancy test, and I took it, and surely I was pregnant. And I remember feeling very scared, very afraid. And the thoughts that were going into my head were the things you would least think about. For example, we were still newlyweds. I didn't know how to cook before.
Yeah.
So I was like, how am I going to be pregnant if I still don't know how to do all of these things? How am I going to bring a child into this world if there's still a lot I need to learn?
If I'm still a child.
Yes. One, I'm still learning to be a woman, and second, a wife.
Yeah.
You know, so you think of all these challenges, but it never crossed my mind about things you should think about. For example, um, living a healthy lifestyle for the baby you're going to host inside your body.
And if I could ask you, what were you afraid of? What was the thing that made you so afraid when you found out that you were pregnant? Because you said all these things, but
well, honestly, knowing if I was even made. I mean, I know women's, are naturally have that instinct of a mother, but I was honestly afraid of failing as a mother, being afraid that I wasn't going to be the best for the baby.
And you were, which is amazing.
Yeah, little did I know.
Incredible. Wow, that's definitely something that, as a husband, you don't really notice the weight a wife carries. Like sometimes you're so focused and work and all these other things that sometimes you just have to stop and ask. And yeah, I can't imagine. And when you found out that you were pregnant, what was the first thing that popped up in your mind? Like in that very moment, did you feel excited? Were you not excited? Were you scared, or were you automatically thinking, what are people going to think, or what was the?
Yeah, a little bit of all of that. One, I was excited, but still afraid of the unknown, afraid of how I would be pregnant. I mean, it was our first time, my first time carrying a child, obviously, and you think about every possible thing, and I was afraid of what people would think, going back to the assumptions that people were already making, and afraid to tell my mom that I was pregnant.
Yeah. How did you tell your mom? I don't remember. Did you tell both of your parents?
I only remember telling my mom. And that's kind of horrible to say. I didn't tell my dad. But I remember I told my mom, we were working together at the time, and I was like, hey, Mom, I have to tell you something. And things were barely starting to get better between us after, us getting married. And she already knew. she already knew I was pregnant somehow, mother instinct. And she was like, what, you're pregnant? And I was like, yes. And
I already knew that.
Yeah. And she didn't take it wrong. I believe the pregnancy is what brought us the connection back. So I do believe Abel was the one that mended that relationship with my mom. And to be honest, I don't remember how my dad found out.
Well, I was just gonna ask you, how do you think your dad felt when he did find out, but knowing that
there's somebody else?
Yeah, like, because you didn't tell him, did you?
No, I was probably one of my siblings, but
how do you think he felt?
I feel really bad not telling him. I think he felt.
You shouldn't. I think you probably out of fear.
Yeah.
As a father, finding out.
I don't know. I have yet to ask him till this day how he found out, but I can only imagine he felt disappointed in the fact that it didn't come from me.
I can't imagine. And as a father,
Yeah.
For those that don't know, we both come from separated
families.
Families, and both of our parents definitely are. Yeah, divorced. We don't. Yeah. Wow, I didn't even really take that for consideration, how your father really felt.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine. He definitely supported you.
Oh, yeah.
From the beginning. And I always saw how he treated you with love and respect since the beginning. I wanted to jump in to preeclampsia.
Yes.
I know that's a sensitive topic for you, so you can stop me at any moment. Feel free. But one thing I wanted, before we dive into that, the early stages of your preeclampsia, What did you know about preeclampsia before you had preeclampsia? Like, what did you know about it?
No, and it's so strange. I didn't know at all that it was even a thing. I mean, I've heard it before, like on TV, you know.
Yeah.
I think one time I was watching an episode of Keeping Up with Our Kardashians, and
Of course.
Kim brought it up. But anyways, other than that, I had never heard preeclampsia before. And oddly, I was in school when I was pregnant, you know, into medical studies, but I never heard of preeclampsia.
What is it? If you can explain that in your own terms.
Preeclampsia is a pregnancy condition where your blood pressure elevates really high, like dangerously high.
Yeah.
And you have fluid retention, and if it gets really worse into eclampsia, you have seizures and your organs slowly start to deteriorate.
What were your today this podcast is all about you. So it's about me too, but I want to really dive in deep into how you felt as a mother and pregnancy. I mean, that's you walked it. You lived it, and I walked with you through it. So I don't know what it feels like to have preeclampsia, and I'll never know, which is crazy, but I can't imagine. What were explain your early stages? How did that, like, how were you feeling? What were you noticing different?
Yeah, so one thing that was really obvious was swelling everywhere. Yeah. My face was starting to get, swollen. My fingers, especially my feet, my ankles, my toes, everything was just swollen. And I thought that was normal because I didn't know any better, and I was only 6 months pregnant. So at that time I was like, wow, I'm only 6 months pregnant. So imagine when I'm 9 months pregnant, I can't imagine how swollen I'm going to be. But in my head, I felt like that was kind of normal, to be honest with you, just because I would tell my doctors and they just said, it's your diet, just change your diet. And I think that was the only sign that I saw.
Did you believe that at the time when they would tell you it's your diet?
I did. I would say I wasn't eating the best, but I wasn't eating the worst. I could have eaten a lot better, made a lot more smarter choices about the way I would eat and drink water.
Yeah.
That's something that I didn't do the best in, and I blamed myself a lot for that.
Yeah.
And I think that was the only sign, really symptom of preeclampsia that I had. And I do remember 2 occasions where my chest was hurting.
I remember your feet getting really swollen, where to the point where you couldn't walk.
Yeah.
At times. But we were very young. We still are, but at the time we were young, and we're just pregnant, and it just felt like it was just one of those things that like just happens because the doctors, everybody made it sound like it was just normal, and it was definitely something that I knew you knew wasn't normal, but you kind of were telling yourself, well, I mean, this is what the doctors are saying.
Yeah.
But I guess now, knowing how much knowledge we've gained through this process, that I can't imagine when we're pregnant again, and I say we because it's not just you, it's me too. When we're pregnant again, and when we do have a healthy child, I don't know how I'm going to react with the doctors because I've been so used to being just advocating on the daily with Abel and trying to figure out his macrophage activating, all those terms, the interstitial lung disease and all these things. And Abel had lots of doctors. And so when we do have a healthy child, I think it's going to be harder because we're not used to that atmosphere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
Pray for us because I just don't know how that's going to look like. It sounds like you blame yourself a lot. And I want to say, and I've told you this privately and publicly, it's not your fault. There's nothing you could have done different. You did everything right. The enemy definitely torments you in that area a lot, but it was never your fault. I feel like what we did a lot into between us in turn, like I blame myself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, Brithzy wouldn't have gone through this if she wasn't with me. And I told that just to myself. And then you yourself, Alfredo wouldn't have gone through this if he was with someone else.
Right.
And those are, that's from the enemy.
Yes, completely.
Those are lies.
Yeah.
That make, go ahead.
I do want to jump into that whole blame thing, because for the longest time since I found out I had preeclampsia, I had to blame myself a lot for the complications that I had in my pregnancy, like, and even Abel's birth and all the diagnoses that later came. I had blamed myself, and for the longest time, for the past 3 years, I was like, if only I had ate better, if only I had drank more water, if only I had been more active in my pregnancy, walked a little more, or just done better for Abel while he was in the womb. Maybe he would have lasted longer in the womb, or preeclampsia would have never occurred. And up until now, a couple of weeks ago, God gave me a word, and I would have said that these past 3 years, I felt like I had control issues with God and a lot of trust issues with God, because I felt like if almost I was in control of my life, and I was in control of the pregnancy and of Abel's life. So everything that went wrong in Abel's life and in pregnancy, I felt like I could have controlled that and done something better. But I'm not God. And I had to swallow that hard pill, and I'm not in control of my own life, and I was never in control of Abel's life. And I learned that the hard way. God told me, with love, he said, you are not my equal. I am God, and I sit on the throne, and only I can do that. Him, not me.
No, I know what you're saying.
Only I could do that. And really, God had it in planned all along, and he allowed it to happen for a reason. And that's something I learned, and I am still continuing to learn, that it's not my fault. I could literally not do anything different. Yeah. I don't have that kind of power.
No, for sure. But I don't think you were ever in control. God is always in control, even if we think he's not part of your journey. But he has given you the wisdom to find a healthy balance in the control, where all you did was lay Abel at his feet. Like, God, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I don't know if he's going to make it another day, but I trust you. But in the midst of that, God used you to minister to Abel. But while you were ministering to him and serving him, giving him the medications, the appointments, and making sure everything was on time, God used you in the middle of that. And he placed a lot of wisdom in you, and a lot of courage, and a lot of things that you wouldn't have really unlocked if you hadn't been through that. So all to say that our situation with Abel, the way we would serve him, because Abel never knew that he was just living to survive.
Right. Yeah.
Everything you did for him, like if his oxygen came off, and I told you this before, but if his oxygen came off, he didn't know that he had to put it back in to survive. Like, he didn't know why this thing was in his nose. He didn't know why there was a tube in his stomach. The medications, like Abel wasn't waking up and saying, I need to take my medications. Yeah. You were doing all that for him, myself as well, but I'm just using you in this example. You did that from the beginning. And so Abel never knew why he was surviving every single day. Serving our children is like serving God. And so in the midst of that, we don't know how we're surviving in the daily, but God is literally adding, like he's in the behind the scenes trying to sustain you in the everyday life. And that's the same. I don't know if that makes sense, but the same way with our children, especially children that, or even children in general, that they don't know that there's all these things to survive: food, water, everything. And so God knows our needs, And so from the beginning, he has sustained you.
Mm-hmm.
What were you stressed out the most at that time? What was weighing heavy on you that you never told me?
When I was pregnant?
Yeah. Like before the appointment and all that stuff, but we're going to jump into that.
Okay. I would say maybe like the living conditions, knowing we were going to welcome a child soon within the next couple of months, and not having our own space for him, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that was a stressor. I would say, going back to when you asked me in the beginning, like, did I even think about that at all? In the moment, I didn't, because it was just me. You know, like for me, I was like, I don't care. I'll stay here as long as I can. But when you're welcoming a child, it's different.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about, or I can help you dive in as well, because I'm really into details.
Yeah.
Of the story of, when we were about to go to the beach and the doctor's appointment that basically changed our whole life.
Yes, it did, for sure. I want to go a little before that.
Okay.
To that ER visit I had one time. I remember waking up early, like 5 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
6. I don't know. You were getting ready for work, and I woke up with so much pain in my chest, and I'm like, okay, this is not normal, and I wanted to, shrug it off and it's okay. It's maybe heartburn or something. But it was constant and it wouldn't go away. And you were like, okay, let me know right now so I could call off work so we could head our way to the ER.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's just do it. Whatever. We won't lose anything, right? Better to be safe than sorry. So we went, and they checked my blood pressure and it was high. They checked my urine and I had protein in my urine, which is really bad sign. It's another symptom of preeclampsia.
Yeah.
And they had us there for the whole day and the night. And basically this is a TMI, but I had to reach a goal in urine.
Yeah.
I had to make certain amount of that for them to let me go. And I didn't.
Yeah.
But they still let me go, and they just thought I was stressed out. So they used that as an excuse and let me go, and I still didn't feel comfortable. I'm like, this is not right. How am I getting chest pain?
Yeah.
And they let me go. I went several times to my regular OB, telling her that I didn't feel good. Something was wrong. My blood pressure was really high, and still they blamed it on stress, which at the moment I didn't really have anything.
Yeah, I remember that.
Life-changing.
Yeah. They were asking even you, like, are you having issues at home? Like all these questions.
Yeah.
And I do think that, mental health is a big factor into everything. I think is a very important subject, but only you knew how you felt. And it must be hard not like knowing that you weren't being listened to.
Yeah, I did. And I was like, this is just not normal. Like, when is somebody going to listen to me?
Yeah. And what would you tell a upcoming mother that's about to have a first, newborn that is having these types of symptoms? Like even the doctors that are saying no, and I mean, what would you tell them? How would you advise them to?
Wow. I mean, I would say, and telling this back to 3 years ago, Brithzy, I would say, no, you know your body, and you need to fight for what you think is right and for what you feel. And fight no matter what. Tell them, keep showing up. Like, no, this is not right. Just get your point across. Yeah, like, I'm not leaving until you check me out completely from head to toe.
Yeah. I mean, advocating for your child doesn't begin when your child is born. Advocating for your child begins when you find out you're pregnant.
Yeah.
And go get a second opinion. And that's something that we didn't do. That I wish I don't know, just in the moment you don't think about stuff like that.
And you're young and naive, so everything's just new to you. So you don't really know where to go.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the beach story. I want to. we're still got a lot to talk about on this one. So let's dive into the beach story. I don't know if you want to go ahead and begin. I'll help you as well.
Okay, so you just start it.
Okay, I'll add a little bit to it. I'll speed it up. So when we got married, we never, to this day, we've never had a honeymoon vacation.
Yeah, that's right.
Like we've never went out. Like just us
didn't
two.
Notice that.
We've never had that. Like that's, to this day, we're still trying to find that.
Mm-hmm.
So in that time, we were gonna go to the beach, and I mean, we already had everything planned out. We had, the swimming shorts. I mean, we the car was ready.
Yeah.
And so we had an appointment that day before we were gonna leave. We were leaving that same day, right?
Yeah. I think
so. At first we weren't gonna go, I believe, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. We didn't go, but then we tried to just get it over with.
Yeah, we weren't going, and then we showed up late. We missed our appointment.
We showed up late.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So we showed up late, and the lady in the front desk tells us that it was too late, that the doctor had already left. And this was just a regular appointment. I mean, we didn't think much of it. We were honestly, our only focus was going to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Man, like God's very strategic and very, he literally holds us through every step. Mm-hmm. And we don't realize somebody had canceled their appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we're heading out, the lady, like, she gets out of her desk or like steps away from her. And I guess she calls us right when we were like walking out.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, hey, like,
you guys can be seen.
Somebody just canceled. Somebody literally called.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Imagine if that phone call wasn't like, oh my gosh, like you were already physically.
Oh yeah, it was pretty bad.
You were bad, but like our pride was like, no, we're going to go to the beach. Because that's all we were thinking of.
Yeah.
I mean, you looked fine, but internally, you just weren't.
Yeah, I wasn't. I never realized how sick I was until the doctor told me.
And you couldn't even put your shoes on.
No, I couldn't wear shoes.
Because they were so swollen.
Yeah, and that, I want to add to that. That certain doctor was a perinatal doctor, so they had already sent us to a specialist. But not because of preeclampsia, but because Abel was on the smaller side.
Yeah.
So they sent us there. And that's the doctor we were seeing that day.
Mm-hmm. We still weren't going to take the appointment because we were like, well, I don't know. And then I remember you looked at me. Do you want to do it? And I don't know. Something just told us. I don't know. I just felt like
you had to take it.
I'm like, let's just get it over with. Mm-hmm. We're already here.
Yeah.
After this appointment, we'll go to the beach. It's crazy how we never take for consideration that one appointment can change your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to add something to the?
No, I agree with you. Like that day, we were expecting it to be the best day, a really good day, and it turned around completely. I remember them checking my blood pressure, and then the normal thing, and it was extremely high.
Yeah,
really, really high. The lady was afraid, and she said, "Oh yeah, you need to see the doctor ASAP. Like you're not waiting. You're going straight back into the room."
Mm-hmm.
And we did, and the doctor came in. Well, first the ultrasound tech, they do it first, and everything seemed really quiet.
Yeah.
So I was like, usually they're like, "Oh, cute baby."
Mm-hmm.
And then all you heard was silence. And I was like, okay, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor came in and reassured all my fears. And he said, you have preeclampsia and you need to go to the hospital right now. Like, your life is in danger. You could die and your baby could die.
I wanted to ask you and myself, how did you feel when that news was delivered? in that very moment?
It shook my whole world. I've never felt that afraid my whole entire life. Afraid of what would happen to me, afraid of what would happen to Abel, afraid of the unknown. And I remember feeling upset.
Who were you upset with?
With God. I'm like, it's your first pregnancy. You would expect it to be rainbows and butterflies, just like how you see it in movies. And I was really confused. I'm like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
I consider myself healthy, thank God, Why would preeclampsia even occur to me? One, I'm 19, I'm young,
Yeah.
I'm not, older and pregnant. And just a lot of confusion of, what's going to happen? What's next? Like, what is going to happen to me?
I think one of the biggest questions that comes to your mind is, why me?
Mm-hmm.
Why me? And this is you asking God, why me if all I've done was believed and served you?
Right.
I've always been pure with you.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes people out there that don't know who you are, God, never have been through this or a similar situation. Like, why did I go through it?
Mm-hmm. And that's something that crossed a lot in my mind.
Yeah. And I think on my end, I might cry. I'm a crybaby. On my end, it was scary to hear from a doctor telling you, hey, you can lose your wife and you can lose your baby. You can lose one or the other, or you can lose both.
Yeah.
And I remember in that very moment, I think I left the room and I was just crying outside like a baby.
I do remember.
I think that you were already about to hit the ambulance. But no, I took you to the hospital, right? Because it was right there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Because ambulance bills be so expensive, and you don't have insurance.
Yeah, and it's just across the street.
Yeah, makes it worse. I ought to say, for me, very hard to hear that the love of my life was gonna pass, and my first child, or one or the other. I was very, very scared. But wow.
It's hard.
Yeah. Very hard.
And just even thinking about it, just going back kind of stirs up anxiety still.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
It's something that we're still
healing
from.
I agree. And
because for so long, once we've like sat on a moment, we had to move on to the next thing that was coming.
Yeah.
And so we never really allowed to feel that moment when we were in that appointment, because we had to move on to the next thing. Okay, now what do we got to do to survive?
It's like we weren't, it's not that we weren't allowed, but we weren't given the time to mourn and grieve.
Yeah.
The pregnancy that we didn't have. And that's something I talk a lot with my therapist is we've been in a season of grieving and mourning.
Yeah. I can't imagine how you feel. Like I really can't, because I know for a mother, all they dream of is the minuscule things that you just really never think about, like the baby showers and
the gender reveal.
Yeah. We didn't experience none of that.
No, not a baby shower. And it's like your dreams were broken.
But I believe our next pregnancy is going to be amazing. Everything's going to work in our favor. And so
I believe that. I really do, with all of my heart and spirit. Yeah, I want to continue the story of going to the hospital.
Well, before you get there, I wanted to ask you something. I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to ask you, because you're in the right track. As you made your way to the hospital, and all these thoughts are coming into your head, what is something that you wish you could have told to the 19-year-old Brithzy as she made her way to that hospital? What is something that if you could go back and say to her, if you're sitting in that car with us in the back seat? Take your time, and if you don't feel like answering, it's fine as well.
I think I would give her a hug and tell her that's going to be okay. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
All you need is a reassuring hug and a reassuring that God is with you.
Yeah.
Even though you don't see it, and it's almost impossible to see God in the midst of that pain.
Yeah.
In the midst of all those broken dreams. But He's there, and I would tell her, you're not alone. You both aren't alone. You can imagine the amount of blessings that's going to come your way and the amount of wisdom that's going to come your way through pain.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt. I will tell her it's going to hurt.
But you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And God's going to use that pain for good.
I don't think we were so innocent in that time that we didn't realize, because we still were in that honeymoon stage. We didn't realize like yes, we took for consideration that it was serious, but we were so innocent that we didn't think it was going to be a long journey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we were almost blind to how severe, one, I was, and two, Abel was.
Yeah, yeah.
We were almost blinded, but I feel like it was God's peace still. And God was protecting our minds as well.
Yeah. I think this is good for this episode. I don't know if you wanted to add something, because on the third one, we're going to dive deep into the hospital, the early journey, and throughout. We might have to make it into 2 segments. I don't know.
I think so. It's so long.
But we'll just go as we go. The pregnancy in general, just to finalize this, it was a beautiful pregnancy, but it was hell.
Yeah, and it was very short.
Yeah.
It felt really short. And yeah, I do want to answer a question that I sometimes see a lot in the comment section and it's a really good question, but it's very real and raw. And to the point, it's, am I afraid to get pregnant again? And am I afraid for preeclampsia to occur? The answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah.
I am terrified of getting pregnant again and it happening all over. I told Alfredo, I was like, if, God forbid, but if that were preeclampsia to be a thing again, I don't know how I would handle it. I feel like I would go crazy, to be honest. But I do believe, and God has told us that we will have healthy children.
Oh, for sure.
And even then, the pregnancy, I feel like it's going to be a good one. But you still I have to allow myself to get into that mentality of, no, God, I trust you. And regardless of what the lies of the devil say,
for sure,
I'm going to trust you. And you promised us healthy children. And I'm going to believe this will be a healthy pregnancy.
Yeah.
With a healthy child and a healthy mother. I believe that with all my heart and soul and spirit. And yeah, I know God has really good things in store for us. And I know what we went through in the past is not for...
It was never to harm you.
Yeah, it was never for harm, and it's not just to go through. It's something that God is going to use to help others, and
for sure,
there's going to be beauty from ashes. I keep saying that, but that's what I hear in my spirit, beauty from ashes.
Like I told you, that when a bird lays eggs, if you crack them before too soon, if you crack them prematurely, they die. And I think that we need to take that for consideration in our personal lives, that sometimes we're trying to develop without going through things, and you're the one that has to crack your own egg to be able to develop, to soar and fly. And so that bird, and nobody helps the baby bird come out of that shell. You had to come out of it.
Wow.
And so I don't know, I just think it's very powerful.
It's really good.
And you had to go through this to be developed. And I mean, if we didn't go through this, I really don't know where our marriage would be. Yeah, you got to allow. How do you allow to feel what you feel and really process it? And don't be afraid to show your weaknesses. And I know you're not, but allow yourself to be vulnerable about how you feel. And I mean, you went through it, and I can't imagine the fear and knowing you do trust God and all, but sometimes, you can trust God and still be scared.
That's right.
But I don't know. I think this was, I love this episode. It was really good. I'm excited to dive into episode 3 and to the hospital journey. And
wow.
I think the more we do these, the more deeper we'll go into.
That's right.
And yeah, so
that's good.
I'm very excited for the next one. Do you want to finish this?
You got it, babe.
I'm very excited for the next one, and I just wanted to say thank you all that are listening. I know we can talk for days, but for sure, my goal was to make this like 30 minutes long, but that did not happen. But we appreciate you all, and stay tuned for the next one. And if you may, hit the like button and subscribe to this video, or subscribe to the channel. I know we have a lot of viewers that watch us but don't subscribe. So I just want to take that, or I just want to say don't forget to subscribe.
Right.
That really helps us out a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And we hope this video encourages you in some way.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me in Abel's room.
Abel's room. So good. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.